everyone, welcome back to my channel, Diverse Goddess. It's Hannah, and on my channel we talk about many diverse topics, and today we're going to be talking about forgiveness, so keep watching. So forgiveness can be a hard thing sometimes to understand or digest or even put into practice, because we hear it all the time, forgive and forget. And some people feel, oh, well, I'll forgive, but I won't forget. And some people feel forgiveness is not about letting someone else off the hook. It's about letting yourself off the hook. Forgiveness does indeed release you, and it does take a lot of weight off of a person's shoulder if you can find yourself in a forgiving place. But sometimes people find it hard to forgive, and if you're finding it hard, it's usually because you're either still hurt or you feel perhaps there hasn't been justice yet. And so that energy is still inside of us, and sometimes it can feel like it's hard to find an exit for it or to release it. Also, sometimes people have a hard time coming to a place of forgiveness because to them, sometimes it feels like it's letting someone else off the hook, or it's to condone or accept what somebody has done. If they've done something to harm them or hurt them, it's almost to say like, oh, no big deal, I forgive you. When really that's not what real forgiveness is about. It's not about necessarily accepting or saying that what someone has done is okay. And when we are put in a position to have to forgive, it's usually because somebody has done us wrong or harmed us in some way, and it can cause us a lot of turmoil depending on what the transgression is. Because if we have to forgive somebody, it's usually because they've done us wrong in some way. And getting to a place of forgiveness is a process just like anything else that we have to learn and grow into. And to me, there's no limit to how much we can learn and grow into forgiveness. And for me, I feel one has learned to forgive when they can forgive the unforgivable without any pretense or feeling or need for revenge, and when it becomes a quality of your being, much like the air that you breathe. And what I mean by that is that it has to come from an internal place, a quality that is truly forgiving, because a lot of people tend to give their forgiveness standards. And sometimes people don't even realize that they give their forgiveness standards, but they'll say something like, oh, I could have forgiven that person if they had, say, replaced the wrecked car or something that they broke. Or I could have forgiven them if they had truly said sorry. It's the old, I could have forgiven them, but. But there are some people that might feel, oh, well, I'm a very truly a forgiving person, because perhaps you've forgiven some people in your life or many people in your life. But you have to look back sometimes at those moments and ask yourself, were you really coming from a forgiving place? Perhaps in those situations, the crimes weren't really that big of a deal, or perhaps they really did replace the wrecked car, or they really did say sorry. But were you really coming from a forgiving place, or was it just easy? Now, you really didn't have to do anything on your part because the other person did. The other person met your standards, and now they all of a sudden became worthy of what? Your forgiveness. When other people meet our standards, forgiveness becomes very easy. But is it really coming from a forgiving place? Or is it really just coming from okay, they met my standards, so therefore I can forgive them? Because I want you to think of somebody you haven't forgiven in your life, or a scenario or a situation where you feel you may not forgive somebody, and ask yourself why that is. And the answer is probably pretty easy, because it now becomes hard. The forgiveness has to be done on your part. The other person isn't doing the work this time. The work has to be done by you. When you can forgive without any pretense, that means the work is being done by you. You become less judgmental. You become less selective. And when we can't forgive without pretense, it's because we've polarized people. We've put people into good and bad scenarios, or judgments, as I should say. And because sometimes people feel there's a limit to what they can forgive. Like, some things are easy, no big deal, we can get over it. And then some things, some people feel, well, there's just no forgiving a certain crime or a certain transgression because perhaps it was so damaging or so scarring. But this is where the real work comes in. If we can stop trying to polarize people into good and bad and saint and sinner, then all of a sudden forgiveness becomes a little bit easier. And of course, it depends on the situation, and everybody needs time to heal. And believe it or not, forgiveness actually accelerates the healing process. Forgiveness actually helps you to heal faster. And also, forgiveness is a two-way street always. For those that you can truly, truly forgive, you will also be forgiven. The energy you give out will also be returned. And this forgiving without pretense, we also have to remember to do it when we are truly ready and truly feel it. Because if we try to force it, or do it out of obligation or because it's the right thing to do, we actually change the energy. It now becomes ego energy, and your ego now becomes righteous. And when we can get to a place inside of ourselves where forgiveness is not just for those that we deem worthy or met our standards, then forgiveness becomes a quality of our being, much like the air. The air doesn't care who's worthy or who's not to take in its oxygen. It's for everybody. Everyone is allowed to breathe. It doesn't withhold it from you regardless of what you've done or haven't done. Its very quality is giving and forgiving. The air will never withhold itself from you. It doesn't know how to withhold it from you. It also will never judge you. It doesn't know how to judge you. And it asks nothing from you. It simply just gives, because that's its quality. When we find it hard to forgive or find ourselves in a forgiving place, it can feel more of a punishment to ourselves than the other person, because it can be extremely suffocating. So the sooner that we can let go of something and the sooner we can find ourselves in a forgiving place, the faster we will breathe again. So on that note, I'm going to end today's video, and if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. And if you want to stay more connected with me, you can find me on Instagram at Hannah Rokes. And don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!